Dreamcatchers, welcome back to the Writer's Haven. I am your host, Helena, and today we are exploring the world of web series. Many of you watch them without realizing that they are part of this genre. Shows like Arrested Development, Hemlock Grove, and my personal favorite, House of Cards, are among this growing art form. In studio with me today is the creator, writer, and director of the web shows DC Yuppies and the Bad Web Series. The latter is a drama wrapped in a parody on web shows. He's a Towson University and Bowie State University alum and is also the author of a collection of short stories entitled Now I Know My ABCs. Let's give it up for Brandon Hairston. Good.
Glad to be here.
I'm very glad to have you here. So let's first talk about your book, Now I Know My ABCs, before we launch into the whole arena of web series. Okay. What is the book about and what was the genesis for it?
I actually wrote Now I Know My ABCs while I was not at work, but when I would come home from work, I would be so tired from just sitting behind a desk, no creativity. I was in a call center for the government, you know, same call day in, day out. So I needed something creative to do after I got off work. And so I wrote one short story, and I let everybody read it, and, you know, they liked it. So they said, you know, why don't you keep it going? So I would just do like a story a week, and then I finally put all the short stories together, and then I came up with Now I Know My ABCs. So the title comes from each character has a different letter in the alphabet. So we go from A to Z with the different character's name, and that's how the chapters came. And what it is, it's basically it's short stories for adults. So there's adult themes to the stories, cheating or relationships, dating, something comical, going to work and something funny happens, and it just goes into that, something that we can all, you know, relate to. And like we've all heard, it's like a quick read, something you can just take with you to the pool or something because they're short stories. So that's where like my love for writing came from there. You know, I like to be able to create stories that people can look at, and when they're reading it, they can, you know, kind of imagine what it would be like to see this on TV or in a movie. So that's kind of my writing style. It's very descriptive.
Okay, so you kind of dibbled and dabbled in writing, and then you came to actually write something. Did you know at the time that you were going to publish it, or did that come later? It
came later. I never thought that I would, you know, do this or pursue this as like a profession. So yeah, it came a little bit later. The more I saw that people really were interested in my writing, that's when I said maybe I should get this published and go beyond my close circle and family. I want to go and see who else is looking for a Brandon Hairston book.
Right, because, you know, that's how a lot of writers start off, by just writing a little something, sharing it with family and friends, and then we get that encouragement, oh, you should publish this, or you should keep writing. Okay, so once you decided that you were going to publish this book, well, actually, let me back up a little bit before that question. What is your process for writing books, and is it different from how you write your web series content?
I think they're a little similar, but the web series content is a little different because, again, you have the visuals, so you want to make sure everything translates from your mind onto the picture. With the book, it's still the same process. You want to have your character development. You want to start with the storyline and the plot and see how the character fits in and can weave through that plot that you've created in your mind. So there's still that planning aspect, just a little bit more on the web series side because of the visual. You want to make sure it looks as good as you see it.
Right. And on the publishing side, did you self-publish? Did you try to go with a publisher, or how did you engage in that process?
I did try to go through a publisher, but most of the time when you're a new author, it's hard to get like a publisher behind you. So I didn't want to wait too long, so I decided to do self-publishing, and I went through it that way.
Okay. And could you tell our Dreamcatchers a little bit about your experience in self-publishing?
I didn't really like the self-publishing process. It may be because of the company. It was, you know, when you Google and you look up self-publishing and you go through a couple of them and check them out. It was one of the, I guess, the first that I found and that was interested, and it was an interesting process, but I just think moving forward, maybe I would try, a different route to publishing.
Right, because there's also the management of book publishing and the marketing, the distribution.
And you do it all yourself.
And you're doing it all yourself. Okay, all right, well, let's now go into your other creative mode of writing for web series. Tell us a little bit about that process and how you came to producing web shows.
Well, the web series came from the Now I Know My ABCs. Again, people would say, I can see I can picture your stories in my head. I wonder, would you ever do something like television or a TV show? And I said, well, I've never thought about it, but maybe I can look into this web series world. So I watched a lot of web series before I got started. Like, there's a lot of them out there. Not as many as there are now. There's a lot more. But I watched a lot to see what the stories were about, and I said, this is something that I'm interested in. I'm really interested in like dramedies, like a mix of both comedy and drama. So I just played around with the idea and came up with some characters, and that's how DC Yuppies came out. Okay. So it took about 3 months to write 8 episodes because I had to keep going back and revising.
That's pretty impressive.
Thank you. I would let friends, read and say, well, what if they said it this way? And I don't want to say rely too heavily on others' opinions because you want it to be your work and you want it to be something that you're comfortable with. But I was looking more so for like spelling and does this make sense? So they would help out. But yeah, it took about 3 months to write 8 episodes, and then came the rest of the process. Okay,
so let's stay on the rest of the process. How did you go about casting and having reads and actually getting into the process of production?
So being a new producer, you again want to make sure to get your name out there. It's hard for people that are up-and-coming actors as well to say, I've never heard of this guy. I've never heard of what he's doing. Why should we work on his project instead of someone else that's a little more established? Right. So you just have to have that trust factor, and let them read the script and know what it's about, so they can understand, see if there's a vision they can get behind. So I did set up a casting call online. I used Facebook and the different casting groups that are in the DMV, and then also did some casting network websites. And from there, I got some other great talent as well.
So what's a casting network?
There's actually one called the Casting Network, and there's some called like Casting Access. But I use those, and you just put your project and what you're looking for, the actor, the character descriptions, and people can submit their headshots and acting reels. And if there's something that you're interested in, you can call them for an interview. Oh, okay. Or an audition. Okay.
Are there a lot of union actors that use that?
There are.
That network?
Yeah. And then there's a lot of non-union, and those are usually like up-and-coming actors, which they're more willing to take the chance on a new producer, which was great because there's a lot of great talent that's not signed to a union yet. So I worked with a lot of them for DC Yuppies as well as Bad Web Series.
Okay, so let's talk about DC Yuppies. Okay. What is that web series about, and is it still something that our dream catchers and viewers can look at?
Yeah, so DC Yuppies is still on YouTube, seasons 1 and 2. There's 8 episodes each. And it's about when I wrote the show, I was like in my upper 20s. And I was just talking about, no, upper 20s. But I was talking about, growing up in the DC metro area and what it's like to date, have a professional life, the drama that goes on with the different relationships in the area, and how the area is so small that, one person tells one piece of gossip, this circle over here knows it as well. So we just kind of tied that storyline into seasons 1 and 2.
Okay, so these are based on people that you know and situations that you're aware of, or did this creativity just blossom in your head and you just put it on paper? Or is it a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both. Like I always tell my friends, don't worry, I'm not going to use you in my stories, because everybody always says, oh, we got the writer coming to the party. But no, I just think I take a situation that seems like it could happen, or it's universal, or we've all either experienced it personally, or we know someone has been through it, and I try to write it in and make it entertaining. So. Yeah, my friends, you guys are safe.
So DC Yuppies, the name alone gives the impression that the focus of the types of themes are significant to DC. What are some of those themes that you would say would be?
Well, I know in DC there's a lot of, especially with the title Yuppie, there's a lot of young urban professionals. And I wanted to make sure that, unlike other shows that we see with young 20-somethings, that everybody on this show had a job, everybody had a career, and the career may have not been the forefront, but I mean to the drama. But I wanted it to know that everyone was a professional, and that we do have young Black successful people that are out there, you know, with daily or full-time jobs and making a difference in their area. Okay. So that's what I wanted to emphasize that.
Okay, and then of course there's the drama of relationships that fall into that, and I did see a piece of that work, and very well done.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Thank you.
Now you were in Baltimore recently for a screening. What was that about? Was for the new series that you're working on?
So I screened the Bad Web Series trailer for the Baltimore International Black Film Festival. They had it was a competition for short films and other genres of web series. So I took some of the comedy shorts that I do. I post those on YouTube and on Instagram, just little skits to keep people interested in what's going on with Be Creative. And I screened those as part of the comedy shorts competition. And then I also screened the Bad Web Series trailer just to let people know it's coming. Check it out. It'll be here in a week, and just to bring some awareness to the show.
Okay, okay. And so we actually have a clip of that trailer. Do you want to set it up for us?
Sure. So Bad Web Series is a parody or a comedy a drama wrapped in a comedy about what it's like to be in the Black web series circuit. So you'll see a lot of quivering lip when somebody's getting ready to cry. You'll see outfits that change when they're not supposed to. It's supposed to be the same day, and all of a sudden somebody has on a different shirt from a different scene. So it's just a parody, but it's something that like all of my lessons learned from working on DC Yuppies.
Okay, okay, well let's roll the clip.
I don't care what you say. It's my body and my decision, and I'm gonna keep this baby.
You think you make the decisions in this house?
You were never there when I needed you. You were a terrible mother.
Have you ever thought that maybe I couldn't be a good mother to you? Because I never had a good mother myself?
Do you really want to do this, man? You think I want to do this? This ain't a want, this a need, or my daughter doesn't eat tonight. You with me?
I'm in the show too.
That was interesting. Only because it's not something that I don't think people have seen.
Yeah.
When it comes to web series, you know, in terms of the parody on a web series. So let's talk about the genesis of that. Where did that idea come from?
Working on DC Yuppies, you know, there was a learning curve for me coming into DC Yuppies. Sometimes there would be days where, like I said, people would come in with one outfit and we would be filming the next part of that scene on a Sunday. Like they filmed the first part on Saturday, and I would say, okay, wear the same thing on Sunday. And they would say, oh, I have different earrings, or oh, my shirt. Do you think anybody's going to notice?
So continuity.
Yeah. And so we played on that. We brought it to the forefront instead of hiding it this time. We would say, hey, actually, let's make you wear a different shirt today, and we're going to make it seem like it's the same day.
But that experience happened in DC Yuppies, but you brought it into the
Bad Web Series.
Right, right, as a focal point.
Right.
Which is very interesting. I mean, you know, of course, there are plenty of movies that have bloopers and things like that, but a parody, and there, of course, there are movies for this big screen and a small screen that talks about parodies. But, you know, this web series, I haven't, there may be some out there, but I've never seen one, and I thought it was very interesting because the other, and actually this is more of a question than a statement, when you're producing these shows and you know that the end game is that this is going to be on the internet, in terms of the planning of the production, how different is that from shooting for TV or shooting for film. Do you find there to be a difference between the two?
I think so, because on the internet, I think people are more critical. Or you can actually like look on YouTube and see the comments as soon as someone watches an episode, as soon as it airs, what they have to say, whether they gave it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, if they clicked away before they finished the episode. So I think you have to be aware that people are more critical. So you have to give them something that they haven't seen before. You have to be more creative, more visual than what they've become accustomed to. So you try to think outside the box when you're planning for this.
That's a very good point, Brandon. Definitely. So it probably makes you a lot more sensitive to the process, because you're constantly thinking about the end game. You're constantly thinking about how it's going to be viewed, where it's going to be exhibited, and then of course there's the trollers you have to deal with, and then just getting negative feedback, because that can have an impact, of course, on how many people go to see it. Either way, I mean, it could be so bad that people want to see, well, how bad is it? Right. So that kind of pushes them to it as well. So do you have a background in filmmaking, or how did you jump into this journey?
No, actually, I went to Towson for psychology, and I went to Bowie for human resource development for my master's. I had no experience with creative writing, with filmmaking, or anything, but I downloaded the software. I've taken a few courses, and I just studied. Like, I use iMovie to learn it, and then eventually graduated to different editing software, and just basically taught myself. And then if I ever had a question, I knew people that were already in the industry that I could reach out to for support, or how do I make this color look better? How do I get that background noise where I can hear the cars going by, and I'm trying to hear people talking over the cars? How do I mute that? So I had a good support system, to reach out to.
Now, what are some of the tools that you used in producing?
iMovie is still my favorite, because it pretty much does the work for you. I know a lot of people say it kind of cheats, but I mean, it really does what I needed to do, especially for bad web series. Like, I don't need much. Like, I don't need to CGI or put dragons flying around or anything. I just need the basic conversations, maybe to lighten up a dark room. I use the Final Draft to write my scripts, to put them in the correct format, which is a great tool, because the script formatting is a beast in itself, like trying to line up the characters and the dialogue and the action. So those are just some of the tools, some of my basic tools.
Okay. So web shows have been in existence for decades. Where do you see the future for these kinds of shows?
I think there's always an audience, because I think people are always interested in seeing, especially like from your hometown, what are we doing? What do we have to talk about? What can we brag about right here in D.C. or Maryland? There's actually a show that's been filmed or produced in New York, and someone is in the show. They were nominated for an Emmy. So the Emmys are actually looking at web series now and nominating digital series as an Emmy. But she reached back and said, "Hey, I'm from Virginia. I'm so glad to see people from the DMV are so creative and putting projects out like this." So it made me feel good that someone that was nominated for an Emmy is looking back, saying, keep going, keep pushing. So. Okay,
so what's next? You have any, besides the Bad Web series, do you have any other projects in the hopper?
I want to keep Bad Web series going, as long as people are watching, as long as the push is there. So we're starting to write season 2. Even though season 1 hasn't officially come out yet, we're just anticipating that it's going to be a hit. So season 2 is in the works, and we'll just see what goes from there. Now,
do you work with a team of writers, or is this purely from your creative mind?
No, it's me and one other guy, Ronald Goff, another guy that also doesn't have a background in film writing, but like when we all hang out with our friends, like people look to us as like the two comedians. So we kind of teamed up on this project, because we know it would be funny if both of us did it together.
Okay, and where can we go to view your work?
You can actually watch Bad Web Series and DC Yuppies and the skits on our YouTube channel, which is Be Creative, B.E.creative, and creative is with the 8, because I was trying to be creative.
Okay, okay. And do you have any lasting thoughts for our dream catchers who are aspiring to also be successful in producing web shows?
I do. I would say to keep going, and the biggest thing is don't compare. As an artist, you always compare what someone else is doing. Maybe that Emmy that went to someone else, or that award that you thought you were up for, or why are people, liking this show or sending more positive feedback for this show versus mine? But you have to remember, everybody had a starting point. So even if you don't have, that big push at first, you have to keep going. So this is my 3rd year doing web series, and I think I'm gaining, more viewers, more support. But it didn't always start out that way. And I think if I would have quit after DC Yuppies, then I would have never seen how far I could go.
Did you get good reviews for DC Yuppies?
I did. Yeah, DC Yuppies won the Miami Film Fest. We had 2 DC Web Fest Silver Awards for screenwriting. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what else can come. My major goal, I know an Emmy is huge, but my major goal is to be nominated for the American Black Film Festival.
So how can we support the shows?
Views on YouTube are big to indie artists. So if you can view it, you can share it, give us a thumbs up, a comment. Those are big to us. And then for our hometown people, we're always looking for new talent, whether it's an actor, or a background character. It's hard to have a party scene and there's only 3 people that show up. So even if you're a new actor looking, to get your face seen, we're always looking for, like a supporting cast member. If you have a new business, if you, an entrepreneur and you want to show off your product, or if maybe you have a restaurant that you're trying to get, people to visit, if we could film a scene or shoot at your restaurant, that's another way. Just to support us, and we can support you as well. Right,
right. Now, have you connected with other web show producers?
I have. So in the area, a big one is Anacostia. They're actually one of the first
That's
web
the name
series.
of the company?
No, that's the name of the web series.
Okay.
It's a soap opera web series,
Okay.
but they've been doing this for about 8 years now. So they're one of the first that have actually started. And then there's others who, once you join like Facebook communities and talk to other people, they talk about their shows, and then we support each other. It's funny, like people say like the DMV is so small and like, we don't really support each other, but you'll be amazed that if, treat people the golden rule, the way that you want to be treated. People are very supportive of you and vice versa. Over in LA, I've gotten a lot of support from the Marriage Tour. That's another web series by David Tinsley that, I talk to him back and forth, and we support each other. And then everybody, of course, knows Issa Rae and Awkward Black Girl and how she's become, the new HBO sensation with Insecure. So that's just someone that I don't talk to because I'm sure she's so busy, but, just someone that I follow in her footsteps, and, want to make sure I'm making the right moves to get to where she is one day.
Right. And before we go any further or close out this show, you have got to tell us where we can find this book. How can we get a copy?
Well, I always keep copies, on me because you never know who's interested. So I have them right in my trunk if anyone ever catches me on the street. But you can find them on Amazon and also at Author House.
Author House. Okay. Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar with them. Are they? So did they? They self-published your book. They helped you self-publish the book. Do they offer marketing and distribution as well?
They do.
Okay.
They helped with some of the marketing, and they helped with like electronic, like the ebook process, because I wasn't familiar with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So they do like the print on demand. Okay. And how was that experience for you? I mean, it's some help, of course.
Right.
I mean, you're not like Elin Harris when he first came out with his very first book, and selling them from his trunk, which many of us are familiar with and have done. But they offer more support.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Brandon, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been an enlightening experience for me. And of course, I'd love to have you come back and tell us more about the success of your shows and also to speak on some of the panel discussions that we're going to have about filmmaking in general, but specifically about web shows. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Dreamcatchers, I hope you enjoyed today's show and learned something about producing shows for the web. For more information about Brandon and Be Creative Productions, you can check him out on Facebook and subscribe to his YouTube channel, Be Creative. Next week, join us for a discussion with author Lauren Francis Sharma, who will discuss her award-winning book, Till the Well Runs Dry. And until then, catch fire on purpose.
What are you, superheroes?
Just four brothers who hate bullies and love this city. Gear up, guys.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Puedes encontrar aventuras en cualquier parte, pero el mejor lugar para iniciar la búsqueda está en el bosque.
I spied something beginning with S.
Snow.
No.
Snow-covered trees.
Nothing to do with snow.
Sal a descubrir animales increíbles. Hermosas plantas y árboles que se unen para crear una aventura inolvidable.
Wow.
Así que ven con tus seres queridos.
Don't even.
A explorar un mundo de posibilidades.
Come on, this way.
Visita descubreelbosque.org para encontrar el bosque o parque más cercano.